What happens when a homeless man boldly asks Elon Musk for just $1? What unfolds next is a journey of resilience, kindness, and second chances that will leave you speechless. Stay tuned to discover how a single question transformed not just one life, but countless others. On a busy afternoon in Austin, Texas, as the sun beat down on crowded streets and honking cars, Carl sat quietly on the edge of a sidewalk. His tattered jacket barely shielded him from the breeze, and his worn-out boots spoke of countless hard miles. Resting against his knees was a small cardboard sign with shaky black-lettered words, "Hungry, anything helps." Carl's life hadn't always been like this. Just a few years ago, he had a stable job at a manufacturing plant. But then came layoffs, mounting medical bills, and the dreaded eviction notice. With no family to lean on, Carl was forced to survive day by day, confined to a few city blocks where strangers walked past, avoiding eye contact. Rejection had become an unspoken part of his world. But today, something extraordinary happened. As Carl sat watching cars queue at the traffic light, his gaze landed on a sleek silver Tesla, its polished frame gleaming in the sunlight. Luxury cars weren't unusual in this part of town, and their drivers rarely spared him a glance, but this car was different. Its tinted window rolled down, and Carl's heart skipped. He leaned forward, squinting. Could it be? Was that Elon Musk? He blinked, doubting his own eyes. Yet, unmistakably, the face of the tech billionaire stared back, a rare moment of stillness in the chaos of the streets. Carl's throat went dry. A mix of desperation and courage surged through him. Summoning every ounce of resolve, he stood up and shuffled toward the car. Each step felt heavier than the last as doubt swirled in his mind. What am I doing? Asking a billionaire for money? Reaching the car, Carl knocked gently on the window. His voice wavered as he asked, "Can you spare $1?" Silence hung in the air, thick and expectant. Carl braced himself for indifference, for the usual dismissal he had grown used to. But to his surprise, Elon Musk didn't look away. Instead, Musk turned to him, curiosity evident in his expression. "What did you say?" Musk asked, stepping out of the car. His tone wasn't mocking or annoyed, it was curious. Carl froze. This was not the reaction he had anticipated. For the first time in years, someone truly acknowledged him. His mind scrambled for words. I just asked if you could spare $1, Carl stammered, his cheeks flushing. He felt foolish. Asking one of the richest men in the world for a single dollar, what was he thinking? Musk tilted his head, studying Carl as though he were solving a riddle. $1, he repeated as if testing the weight of the request. Slowly, Musk reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. But instead of handing over the money, he paused, his eyes drifting to the sign tucked under Carl's arm. "What's your story?" Musk asked, his tone calm but probing. "Why are you out here?" Carl hesitated. Most people didn't care about his story. They either ignored him or tossed some spare change without a word. But Musk's question felt different. There was genuine interest in his voice, a rare empathy Carl hadn't encountered in years. Shifting uncomfortably, Carl began haltingly. "I lost my job a while back. Then things spiraled out of control. Bills piled up, and I couldn't keep up. I've been out here ever since." Musk listened intently, his gaze occasionally flickering to Carl's frayed jacket and scuffed boots. For a moment, Carl thought he saw a hint of something in Musk's expression. Was it empathy? He wasn't sure. "You asked for $1, Musk said finally, his tone shifting slightly. "But why only $1? Why not ask for more?" Carl blinked, caught off guard by the question. "I don't know," he admitted after a pause. "It just feels easier to ask for something small. People are more likely to say yes." Musk's lips curled into a thoughtful smile. "Interesting," he murmured almost to himself. "Most people would ask for as much as they could get." Carl couldn't tell if Musk was mocking him or genuinely intrigued. But before he could respond, Musk leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "Do you think $1 would really change anything for you?" The question hit Carl like a gut punch. He hadn't thought of it that way. Of course, $1 wouldn't change his life. It wouldn't even solve his problems for a day. But it could mean a small meal, a brief reprieve from the hunger that constantly gnawed at him. I guess not, Carl admitted quietly. But it's something. Musk nodded slightly, unreadable. Then, without warning, he reached into his wallet and handed Carl a crisp $100 bill. Carl stared at the money in disbelief, his mind racing. This wasn't just $1, it was an entire lifeline. I I don't know what to say, Carl stammered, his voice cracking with emotion. But Musk wasn't finished. He placed a hand lightly on Carl's shoulder, drawing his attention back. I want to ask you something, Musk said. If you could ask for anything at all, what would it be? Carl froze, the weight of the question hitting him like a wave. He gripped the $100 bill tightly, his fingers trembling. Musk's gaze remained steady, expectant. This wasn't a casual question. It demanded an honest answer. Taking a deep breath, Carl finally spoke. I'd get a clean start, he said, his voice quiet but steady. Find a place to stay, clean myself up, maybe even get a job again. I just need a chance, a real one. Musk nodded, his expression thoughtful. A clean start, he echoed. That's a good answer. For a moment, Carl doubted himself. Was it really a good answer? Or just the only one I could think of? But before his doubts could overwhelm him, Musk leaned back against his car, folding his arms as if preparing for a serious discussion. What's stopping you? Musk asked. Carl hesitated, the answer obvious but difficult to admit. Money, he said simply. And the system. It's hard to climb out when you've already fallen this far. Musk tilted his head, considering this. You're not wrong, he said after a moment. The system isn't built to help people like you. It's built to keep things running as they are. Then he paused, his gaze sharpening. But if you had the resources, just enough to get back on your feet, do you think you could make it work? Carl's throat tightened. The question filled him with both hope and fear. I think so, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I mean, I'd try. I wouldn't waste the chance. Musk studied him for a moment, then smiled faintly. That's what I like to hear. Carl wasn't sure what to make of Musk's cryptic response. Before he could ask, Musk continued, You know, Carl, most people think success is about big ideas and luck. And sure, those things help, but more often than not, it's about persistence, getting up every time you're knocked down. Musk's words struck a chord. Carl chuckled softly, the sound bitter, yet tinged with self-awareness. Yeah, I guess you could say I've had practice with that. Good, Musk said, his smile widening slightly, because persistence is the one thing money can't buy, and it's the one thing that matters most. The words hit Carl harder than he expected. For so long, he had felt invisible, defined by his failures. But now, for the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of something he hadn't dared to hope for. Pride. Musk straightened, his tone shifting slightly. Here's the deal, he said firmly but not unkindly. I'm going to give you more than just money. I'm going to give you a chance, a real one. But it's up to you to take it. Carl's heart pounded. What do you mean? Reaching into his pocket, Musk pulled out a sleek business card and handed it to Carl. The card was minimalist, with no logo or branding, just a name and a phone number. Elon Musk. Call this number tomorrow, Musk said. Tell them I sent you. They'll know what to do. Carl's hands shook as he held the card. I don't understand. What are you offering me? A job, Musk said simply. A place to start, but whether you take it or not, that's entirely up to you. Overwhelmed, Carl felt a lump form in his throat. The weight of the moment was staggering. The possibilities were both exhilarating and terrifying. As Musk stepped back toward his car, he turned one last time and said, Don't waste this, Carl. Opportunities like this don't come around often. With that, Musk got into his Tesla and drove off. leaving Carl standing on the sidewalk, clutching the card that could change everything. That night, Carl sat under the dim light of a street lamp, staring at the card in his hand. The name and number felt surreal, as though they might vanish if he looked away. Doubts began to creep in. Was this some kind of test? A joke? People like Elon Musk didn't just hand out opportunities to people like him. One evening, as Carl sat at the small desk in his rented room, he looked over his savings. It wasn't much, but it was growing steadily. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to think about the future. Not just surviving day to day, but truly building something. That night, Carl decided to write a letter to Elon Musk. He wanted to express his gratitude, but more importantly, he wanted Musk to know how much the opportunity had meant to him. "Dear Mr. Musk," he began, his handwriting shaky but determined. "Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. I'll never forget the kindness you showed me that day on the street. You didn't just give me a chance, you gave me hope. I promise I won't let you down." He mailed the letter the next morning, not knowing if Musk would ever see it. Weeks turned into months, and Carl's life continued to improve. He was promoted to a team lead position at the facility, his hard work and dedication catching the attention of his supervisors. He started mentoring new hires, sharing his story with those who were struggling. Then, one day, Carl received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, this is Elon Musk," the voice on the other end said. Carl's heart skipped a beat. "Mr. Musk?" "I got your letter," Musk said. "I'm proud of you, Carl. You've come a long way." Carl was speechless, his emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "I've been thinking," Musk continued. "You've proven that with the right support, people can turn their lives around. I want to start a program to help others like you, people who just need a chance, and I want you to help me run it." Carl couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You want me to help?" "Yes," Musk said firmly. "You understand what it's like to struggle, to fight for a second chance. Who better to lead this initiative than someone who's lived it?" Tears filled Carl's eyes as he nodded, even though Musk couldn't see him. "I'd be honored," he managed to say. Over the next few months, Carl worked closely with Musk's team to design the program. They called it Pathway, and its mission was simple: to provide resources, training, and opportunities to individuals who were ready to rebuild their lives. Pathway launched with great success, helping countless people find their footing and regain their dignity. And at its helm was Carl, a man who had once thought his life was over, but had found a way to turn his darkest days into a beacon of hope for others. Carl often reflected on that fateful day when he'd asked Elon Musk for a single dollar. He'd never imagined it would lead to this, a life filled with purpose and a chance to make a difference. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage and one act of kindness to change everything. Carl's story became a testament to the power of resilience, kindness, and opportunity. It was proof that one act of courage, asking for help, could create a ripple of change that touched countless lives. If this story moved you, remember that we all have the ability to make a difference, no matter how small the gesture. Share this story, reach out to someone in need, or take a step toward your own second chance. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories that remind us of the power of hope, resilience, and connection. Your support means everything as we continue to share these inspirational journeys. Thank you for being a part of this community.